is my mic so quiet? That should. Hmm. Hello, hello. I do sound very quiet. Hi, Teal. Welcome in. God. I hope singing didn't mess us up. Hmm. Hello. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. There we go. Unless it's really loud. Hang on. Let me just listen to myself. Hello, hello. Whoa. Yes, I think that is definitely better. Apologies. It was just very, very quiet earlier. At least on OBS. That was, yeah, so one of the things, this is okay, is it? Welcome in, Kwai. I don't want it to be like blowing out your eyes, your eardrums or anything. It just wasn't working. It was like my microphone wasn't connected, so I had to unplug stuff out and re-add stuff. And I guess that was just, even though it was working, it was just way too low. But I think we're all good now. But welcome in Teal, and welcome in Kwai. Thank you for joining me. I had a nice. Just thinking about going to sleep is making me yawn. But I had a nice sleep after the singing stream. It was quite nice. Well, actually, it took a little bit to get to sleep, but I was able to go for a nice long sleep. But it's good to be back around the fire, being around the normal people of the world with all their bright decorations is nice and all, but I much prefer the forest, even when it is a little bit cold. Timing. Ooh, ooh. Is my microphone? Oh. God damn it. I'm sorry, Heidman. I forgot about that because I actually, hang on, actually, that is a mistake I did make. I had to reset the timing on my microphone because I set a little delay to it, but I remember what that was. I apologize, Heidman. You just happened to say something that also lined up with something that I felt like I forgot to do. How you feeling? I'm feeling a lot better, a lot better. I might still cough a little bit because you know, I feel like probably my throat is still a little bit just sore from all the coughing. So when I talk a lot, it it just irritates it and I cough. But I think it's okay. But I'm definitely feeling a hell of a lot better. And I'm out for walking and stuff. I'm out walking. You know, I'm no longer testing positive or anything, so that's good. And I have a couple of meals with friends coming up soon that I'm very much looking forward to. I did turn off. Yes, I'm pretty sure I turned off the thing that makes my voice all echoey, the reverb. But welcome in, Heidman. I hope all of you guys are well. Today is Kwai. I hope you're finishing up for Christmas soon, because I know you might still be working. Maybe you're getting up now for work. Getting ready to head in. Had a Christmas concert day. You were saying that before last a lot, that you were looking after the junior infants or something, or the senior infants for their Christmas carol, and you have so much glitter in your hair. It sounds like it was a lot of fun. I'm fixing my face for work. Oh no. Oh, a lot of work. Why? Just to get ready for work. A lot of work. Glad you're feeling betterish. Yeah, yeah. I feel pretty much fine. It's just a lingering cough at the moment. which is the only thing. So I think that's fine. I can deal with a slight cough, and hopefully that'll clear up soon. With the infants, first class today actually, and then a bit of infants. It was great, to be fair. That's really nice to hear. I'm glad. I hope. I bet they sang wonderfully and beautifully and perfectly, and all of them knew the words, and there was none just kind of staring off into space. But it is very cute. I remember I doing kind of Christmas carols like that before. It was always a lot of fun. I'm not even that tired. I'm just yawning a lot. But thank you all for joining. We're going to be getting back into our regular programming after our bit of karaoke. And if you guys, I do apologize because I actually it's currently up on my channel and you can watch it, but unfortunately it is all a cappella because obviously I recorded the stream to take out the music, but then I forgot to click start recording as well as start streaming to record it with the music. So the only thing that exists of that stream is the a cappella singing, which is kind of interesting because I get to hear my voice completely on its own. So yeah, I made a little whoopsie doopsie. But it is interesting because then I can hear like exactly where I'm off, where I like my voice broke. I noticed it in one or two songs that like at the very end my voice cracks and then it's like it's kind of off. But at least the vocals survived. We can add the music back in post. Well, if I had, oh, it's windy out. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but my curtain is, or the trees are blowing lightly. I swear I'm keeping in kayfabe. Maybe I have a curtain set up behind where you guys are to try and block the wind. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. It's just ruffling loudly. Cozy though. Uh, but yeah, it's I've kind of been listening to it a little bit and just kind of being like, okay, what songs actually suited my voice, and where did I do well? I'm kind of looking for that little bit of ego, little bit of ego rising. But we're getting back into our scheduled programming of reading and back to our Philosophy of Mind, A Beginner's Guide by Edward Fesser. We're actually midway through a chapter. Now, it's been a couple of days since I last read this, so I'm not 100% remembering exactly whatever, like the specifics of things. But we did go over intentionality, why it's important to both causes, and then looked at the various theories, such as conceptual role theory. We had causal theories, and then biological theories, and then I believe it was we took a look at Mr. Daniel Dennett or Mr. Dennett's or Daniel Dennett's instrumental theories, which is sort of like a, oh god, what how do I describe it again? Oh god. I remember he talked about stances and that like we talk about things as if they have intentionality, but ultimately we only do so as kind of a way for us to describe words, that we assume them so that we can better understand that it's not actually a real thing. And I think at the end of that, Fesser, well, not that it's real, but that was sort of some of the logical extension of it. And Fesser was getting into, about to begin, the topic that we're going to be discussing now, called eliminativism. And he's bringing this up as again, because we saw eliminativism rear its head a couple of times throughout this book, where eliminativism being one of the materialist theories that says that the mind as we know it, when we think about things, intentionality, thoughts, that those aren't real at all. They're just ways that the folk people, kind of normal people, described something that they didn't understand. It's kind of been called folk psychology. So we're going to get into that. I think now. I think I'm going to begin our reading, and after that, I think we only have a couple of pages. Not pages, but I think it's 2 chapters. But it's only like I think it's about 40 pages after that. So maybe another 2 streams. Although I will say I wouldn't be happy if I ended on an odd number. Like I think this is number 11, stream number 11. And if I ended my reading series on like I'm fine with any even number. And like 15, but something feels off about ending something on like 13. It seems weird. But we're going to get into it. We're going to get into this, and we're still looking at intentionality, which, as stated before, 11 is a great number. I do like 11. It has a nice, like, it's kind of another one of those odd numbers. It's okay, but 13, I guess you Friday the 13th, but then that like 13 is an unlucky number. In that regard. And then you have 15, which is fine because it's a multiple of 5, and that seems good. 17, no, something about that seems off. And then 19 is too close to 20. It's like, well, why can't there just be one more and we round it out to a multiple of 5 as well as an even number? So maybe I'll intentionally cut short a chapter next time. But let's get through this chapter at least, shall we? Eliminativism again. If the upshot of our discussion thus far seems to be that no naturalistic account of intentionality has yet succeeded, there are a number of materialists who would nevertheless deny that this has any tendency to cast serious doubt on the truth of materialism. What it really casts doubt on, they suggest, is the reality of intentionality itself. I like that, the reality of intentionality. Recall from Chapter 5 that some materialists have proposed that the way to deal with the problem posed by qualia is simply to deny that qualia exists in the first place. Many of them would apply the same strategy to the problem of intentionality. If intentional mental states turn out to be irreducible to purely material states of the brain, so much the worse for intentional mental states. We ought to stop looking for a way to reduce them, and instead consider eliminating them from our ontology altogether. Maybe they don't really exist at all, in which case there's no need to explain them. Which kind of seems to be, to me, putting the cart before the horse. If the argument is that you're trying to figure out is if the mind is material or not, but you assume that these parts of the mind that we see, because they can't be reduced to a material thing, then they clearly must not exist, or we must be mistaken about them. I feel like you would need to have a good explanation for that, and not just say, well, clearly they don't exist because the mind is a material thing. It would sort of be begging the question in the first place, but I'm sure there's a little bit more to it than that. This is a view known as eliminative materialism, most famously associated with Patricia and Paul Churchland, and if it doesn't sound utterly bizarre, you haven't understood it. Nor is this a biased description of the theory. Eliminativists are under no illusions about how counterintuitive and contrary to common sense their position is. They are willing frankly to deny what the average person would consider undeniable, namely that we have thoughts, experiences, beliefs, desires, and all the rest. In short, that we have minds. The eliminative materialist view is not that the mental states are identical to brain states, or that minds are identical to brains, but rather that there are no mental states, and in short, no minds at all. There is only the brain, and whatever a completed neuroscience will eventually tell us about it. The correct description of human nature will, at the end of the day, make no reference to what we think, feel, hope, fear, or believe, but instead only to physiological structure, neuronal firing patterns, chemical secretions, and the like. It's not that your belief that it's raining is the same thing as such and such a neural process, as the identity theory would have it. It's rather that neither you nor anyone else has had any beliefs, nor any other mental states at all, and that the neural process is all there is, and all there ever has been. Why would anyone take such a proposal seriously? Part of the answer has to do with the notion discussed in Chapter 3, that our common sense description of ourselves as having beliefs, desires, and other mental states constitute a kind of theory, folk psychology. There we noted that the identity theory can be understood as suggesting that this theory can be reduced to some neuroscientific reality, in just a way that a theory that's made references to genes was shown to be reducible to a theory making reference to DNA. Excuse me. But as the Churchlands are fond of noting, there are cases in the history of science where a theory turns out not to be reducible to some deeper theory, but instead to have been utterly mistaken and thus in need of elimination. The pre-Copernican picture of the universe, according to which the Earth was the center of the solar system and surrounded by a series of heavenly spheres, was just wrong. It was not reduced to modern astronomy, but eliminated and replaced by modern astronomy. If folk psychology is a theory, then it too might turn out to be mistaken. Moreover, since unlike scientific theories, it seems not to be reducible to some more basic theory that makes reference to nothing but purely physical laws and entities, this is itself a reason to think it might be false. We are better off just getting rid of it and reconceiving of human nature entirely in terms of the purely materialistic categories of neuroscience. This might not be possible immediately. We still have much to learn about the brain and nervous systems. But at least in principle, and at some future date, we ought to be able to substitute a wholly neuroscientific description of ourselves for our current mentalistic idiom. Perhaps the citizens of eliminative materialist societies of the future will no longer say things like, boy, this pain is really getting to me, but rather, there's a particular high level of activity in my C fibers and reticular formation. Someone getting off an amusement park will no longer report feeling dizzy, but instead note that there's a residual circulation of the inertial fluid in the semicircular canals of my inner ear. Romance novelists will... Oh, I don't know if you guys could hear that. That was my phone going off. I'm just going to put it on mute. I'm a professional streamer, guys, I swear. And I am a professional streamer because I have like 2 or 3 subscribers, which means moolah. uh, Romance novelists will eschew talks of love and longing in favor of neural action potentials and behavioral dispositions. Nice ringtone, though. It was just like the diddle-a-doo, diddle-a-doo. It was just like a message. But I think what happened was like multiple messages came through at once. Because my phone does that sometimes. It just sits. It doesn't notify me of something until I open it, and for some reason it opened, and then it will spam me with stuff. All this may seem pretty fanciful, but that doesn't prove it is false. As eliminativists never tire of pointing out, they all laughed at Jules Verne too, until Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon. But there may be much deeper problems for eliminativists than merely being ahead of the time. First, the notion that folk psychology is a kind of theory seems much less plausible than the view that regards it. Instead, as a description of the data that any theory worth our attention must be consistent with. And if the indirect realist view discussed in Chapter 1 is correct, then it is precisely our direct awareness of mental phenomena that forms the starting point of all theorizing about the mind and its relationship to the physical world, so that it can hardly make sense to suggest that such phenomena do not exist. But the point he's making there is basically, so for example, Descartes' cogito, I think, therefore I am, basically makes thinking the starting point for any considerations. But if our thinking is completely eliminated, the idea that we have thoughts or beliefs or ideas about anything, but the physical realist position is in some way correct, or, even if the idea that, our only experiences of things is how we... Well, I guess the eliminativists would deny experiences in the first place, wouldn't they? How can we even say anything about the real world? Or, why would we even accept them in the eliminativist position in the first place? But what he's saying there is basically that folk psychology, the idea that, we have minds, he's arguing it isn't a theory. It's more like the data that you base a theory off, your observations. So, what would be a good example? I don't know. The theory of evolution, for example, is based off of Darwin's kind of observations of the way things worked within nature and all the different variations that occur, and kind of thinking and then experimenting upon that. But he still required observations in the first place, and those observations, of course, required him to, well, experience those observations and form ideas, which required a certain type of data to be entered into the brain, be processed. There seems to be an even more basic and more obvious difficulty with the theory, however. Insofar as eliminative materialism asks us to reconceive human nature, to learn more about the nervous system, and indeed to believe the theory itself, doesn't it presuppose the validity of the very concepts it proposes eliminating? Doesn't the theory ultimately contradict itself? Germ theory of disease would be wrong if we discovered that microscopy were incorrect or just artifacts. I'm not too well. Obviously, I understand the germ theory of disease. Were incorrect or just artifacts. If you could hide, I guess, like, do you just mean that, like, if our entire conception of microbiology was incorrect, or at least bacteria, that like was incorrect? Oh, do you mean by artifacts that, like, they're not actually what occurs when it comes to disease, that they're just they're sort of just things that are created in the process? If microscopes did not show germs, but just artifacts of light. Ah, I see. I wasn't too sure what you meant by artifacts there, but I see. So yeah, it's kind of a good point. Like, you base the germ theory of disease on the data that you have at hand. You know, no one came up with the idea that, oh, there's these little things that enter us and they're alive and they cause disease. And then let's go find those little things. It was more, look at the microscope and we see all these little things. I wonder how they interact. And then, of course, loads of experiments and everything expands from there, and you get this massive, complicated, interconnected theory. It still requires an initial observation. And welcome in, Clever. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us. Eliminativists are, of course, well aware of this objection, but think it can be easily answered. The Churchlands propose that to accuse the eliminativist of self-contradiction is like accusing modern biologists of contradicting themselves in denying the pseudo-scientific concept of vital spirit. It would be obviously be foolish for vitalists to argue that people who disbelieve in vital spirit must be alive in order even to express their belief in their disbelief, in which case they must possess vital spirit after all, and have thereby refuted themselves. Vitalists would in this case be begging the question, since their argument would presuppose that the only way to explain life is in the terms of vital spirit, which is exactly what the anti-vitalist denies. Similarly, the reply goes, the critic of eliminative materialism is begging the question in answering, assuming the eliminativists must believe their own theory, since the existence of beliefs is exactly what the eliminativists reject. One reason to suspect that this reply will not work is that here again the eliminativist seems, unavoidably, to make use of concepts, begging the question, assuming, and the like, that are just the kind of mentalistic notions eliminative materialism denies the legitimacy of. This suggests that the analogy which vitalism may not be a good one. Anti-vitalists don't deny the existence of life. After all, they only deny a certain theory about how to explain life. That's why they aren't contradicting themselves, which they would be doing if they deny the existence not only of vital life, but of living things, including themselves. But eliminativists don't just deny a certain theory about how to explain believing, assuming, thinking. They deny the very existence of these phenomena. Yet denying is itself an instance of the sort of phenomena whose existence is denied. In short, any attempt to either propose or reject a theory, eliminative materialism, folk psychology, or whatever, is to represent the world as being a certain way, and thereby to manifest intentionality. But in that case, one cannot coherently propose a theory that denies the existence of representing, or of intentionality. Some eliminativists might acknowledge that their position has a real difficulty here, but suggest that it may be that we just don't have yet the conceptual resources to imagine how theories might be proposed, accepted, rejected, without using mentalistic and intentional language. We might be in a position similar to someone in ancient Greek trying to imagine quantum mechanics, the theoretical groundwork necessary even to conceive of the radically novel conceptual scheme, eventually to be developed, just hasn't been laid yet. Again, though, even to frame the suggestion, the eliminative materialist has to use language, imagine, conceive, conceptual resources, even theory, propose, and reject, which seems irreducibly mentalistic and intentional. Anything that could ever count as a theory, or even as something relevantly analogous to a theory, no matter how far off in the future it is put forward, would seem unavoidably to be something that involved representation and intentionality, in which case it could not coherently be used to express eliminative materialism. It is as if the eliminativist were suggesting that 2 plus 2 equals 23, and that the only reason we can't make sense of this is that we don't yet have the conceptual resources to see what addition might look like in the future. The right thing to say about this is that whatever the people of the future might be doing if they go around asserting that 2 plus 2 equals 23, it won't be addition of any sort. Similarly, eliminative materialists seem ultimately to be proposing a theory which is by their own admission currently unintelligible, with a promissory note that someday we might be able to make it intelligible. But the promise can in principle never be kept, since the possibility of intelligibility, that's the reality of intentionality and the possibility of intelligibility. I like those little. I know it's just. It could make sense if we assume something like computers are doing it independent of will. So sort of oh god, what did it call it again? What would that be? Kind of like a systems theory, I suppose. Where what I remember there was a certain conception of that, or was that more to do with the mentalese topic at hand? I'm trying to remember now. Sorry, I recently finished a Thomistic book, a very heavy one, and I've been struggling with that one, so trying to remember this stuff has been. So that would be, yeah, that would be treating the mind like a computer. But there seems to be a distinct difference between eliminative materialists that, like, it assumes that the mind, the brain and mind, are real things, but they're just like computers. I think even if our brains are just computers, and it implies a kind of a deterministic way of living, that you just get data in, data out. There's still a way that we think about things, we represent things. While the eliminative materialist would completely reject that in like complete fashion, that we don't have any sort of consciousness at all. I think it's the issue of whether or not there is will. Determinism is a good word for that. Yeah. It's sort of like the idea that and there's different aspects. I know in theology the discussion of free will is huge. If it's the idea of, if God has preordained everything to happen, has he really given us free will? If we're meant to act morally, in that case, can we ever actually act morally within our free will? Now, I believe various different religions typically land on the side of there is free will. How would I? But I haven't really gone into that question. But like, I mean, on the materialist side, if everything is physical and everything is dictated by motions, it would and just like chemical reactions and things just interact with each other. And if you could know exactly a certain point in time, everything about it, and how everything is going to interact, you would think you would know what's going to happen next. But if that also applies to our brains, then that would assume that would kind of imply that we don't have free will. That we only ever act in certain ways, in a purely deterministic manner, whatever way our brains, our synapses fire. But I think the eliminative eliminative materialist is going even further, by not just saying that like we think certain things or we act out in certain ways or we have certain beliefs because of prior physical interactions. I mean that thought seems to require the presupposition of a thinker. If there is no thinker, just the illusion of one as like a computer, then the mind might exist independent of a thinker or not at all. Could be an emergent computational process. Well, I think that the issue there is like so for example, I do understand, but like the use of the word illusion, if our mind is just an illusion of one, where we're being tricked essentially into thinking that we have some sort of thought process, that it's emerged from some sort of computer process, or whatever that computational process is in our brain or on a computer or in some highly complex, I don't know, even radio signal or something. Um, if something is being illusioned, that would imply someone being illusioned, wouldn't it? Or say, if there's an illusion being played, that would imply some kind of person being tricked in that manner. Let me just reread it again just to make sure I'm. Seems to require the presupposition of a thinker. If there is no thinker, just the illusion of one, as like a computer, then the mind might exist independently of a thinker or not at all. Well, I think that is kind of the mind might exist independent of a thinker or not at all. And yeah, if a mind or a kind of conscious can be conceived of, then it's a matter of semantics based on the difference between subjective reality versus objective reality. The subjective could experience and create these words as truth, while the objective reality, it would not exist. Well, I think that's what this whole discussion is about. Well, a large portion of it is about subjective reality, how we experience the world. Do we directly experience reality, in a fashion, in the sense that we are, when I touch this table or when I read your comments, am I directly experiencing that, or am I experiencing it in a represented way through the many processes that go on in my brain, or through some sort of immaterial brain? And then how does if it is immaterial, does it play any sort of causal role on things? You could experience and create these words as truths. Mm, mm. I suppose as well. Then there comes a question of which is either dependent on the other. Now, I think the Thomists, which Fesser gets into later, does argue that the immaterial and material basis of say humans, for example, is dependent on each other in some fashion when it comes to form and matter from an Aristotelian perspective. But that's kind of getting a little bit further ahead. Um, I know we did discuss at one point in the book the kind of computers. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It had a certain term, but it was very much like what you're talking about, the kind of computational process. I might even have it in the. Let me check. It might be in the. Because there's like a glossary. Here we are. Computational/representational theory of thought, CRTT. The view that thoughts are best understood on the model of linguistic representations, so sentences that transition from one thought to another, is best understood on the model of the computational process instantiated in modern digital computers, regarded as one possible way of developing functionalism. And then functionalism is kind of holds that that our thoughts and mental processes, they're able to be understood in terms of like the relations that they have to our environment, or the influences from like the physical world. Well, I guess our minds in this case would be physical as well, but like the influences from that, and then the kind of the thoughts and actions or processes that the environment typically generate. And then actually it has it here. and to turn other mental states that are typically associated with the specific set of causal relations a particular mental state bears to these other elements is commonly said to constitute a functional role. So then you have universal Turing machine and multiple realizability. Sorry for derailing the reading. I was thinking more along the lines of how difficult it is to prove sapience from the appearance of it. Ah, I see. Yeah, you were kind of getting into, you were looking at the eliminativist. Oh yeah, sorry, I see what you mean. But I suppose that the thing is like when I look at everyone around me, you know, they appear to have a mind similar to mine. Um, but you know, and that's the whole idea of the conceptual or the philosophical zombie. But at the same time, I like I feel like there's a distinct difference between seeing someone, like for example, you're hearing me talk, and you assume that I'm having thoughts and beliefs and desires and some sort of consciousness or sapience. Um, but from an internal perspective, that's exactly how it feels. It's hard to, like, I feel like there is a qualitative difference. Again, I'm presupposing. I guess I'm begging the question of qualia existing in this case, between seeing that other people appear to have some kind of consciousness versus my own internal experiences of being conscious, of being able to think about other things and being able to think on my thinking, and and no worries. I'm like this is the type of, this is exactly what this book is about, and trying to, I guess, uh, talk about it independently of the book is a little tricky because I'm trying to bring in as much as I can from it while also bringing in my own ideas. Um, I guess that's probably the angle I would go. But then, of course, you'd be, you know, it would sort of be like, you know, no one can look at your, no one else can experience that. P zombies and the Chinese room experiment. Yeah, yeah. I think it boils down to familiarity. We assume that our humans have it because we appear to, which current arguments might suggest would be faulty because we might not have it. Hmm. Hmm. And that's sort of the, I guess that is the eliminative materialist perspective, because I feel like the other experiences or the other theories at least leave a place for like that either mental processes and consciousness arises out of physical processes, that it is in some way physical, that it is just the brain, but it still allows for consciousness to exist, that is explicable in terms of physical processes. I do think that there is a distinction there, a difference between that and eliminative, like suggesting that we don't even have it in the first place, because that kind of uh, hmm. Say I'm just thinking now on the difference between, say, you know, if the brain is more of a computer where our consciousness is sort of just how would you put it? Required presupposition of a thinker. There's no thinker. I'm just going back to the other one because I just want to make sure I'm understanding that computational process. Just the illusion of one as like a computer, then the mind might exist independently of a thinker, or not at all. And if a mind can exist independent of a thinker, there's no reason to suggest it exists in the first place. Yeah, I suppose the difference there between the version that we got was that the assumption is that the mind is sort of something that arises out of certain computational processes. So if you have exactly those computational processes, but you have the instead of the brain, you have the exact same processes being um, done by machine parts, for example, that you replace every. I think that's even when we get into here in the book. I think it was a couple of chapters ago where you slowly replace the brain with things that do the exact same function. Would the consciousness continue to survive? But then if it is the exact same as the brain, or is simply a computational process. Well, I suppose if it's this brain, then it wouldn't. But if it's a computational process, then it would suggest that it should. That if you're able to completely replace the processes that are done by the brain with parts of, say, a computer, that would supposedly create a similar consciousness. Now, of course, you could take the other side, kind of what I feel like you're suggesting, where it's a complete illusion in the first place, I guess. A sort of self-referential subjective experience with no experience, or like playing a movie in our heads, I guess. Hmm. I suppose. I suppose just for me, it's hard to. Oh, excuse me a moment. It's like it's hard for me to imagine there being a kind of subjective experience or some sort of qualia without there being an experiencer. Like kind of going back to what you said there, where it's like um, where our brains sort of through physical processes trick us, or there's kind of a veil of consciousness that misrepresents the physical world to us. It's hard for me to conceive of there not being then someone to be tricked in the first place. Like, what would it be for that veil to be lifted? And then, of course, if suddenly we get into the realm of skepticism, where if we can't even trust the thoughts that we're thinking, if we can't even trust our own experiences, not just of the physical world, but of our own thoughts in the first place, how can we even discuss anything? How can we have intelligible discussions or arguments? Do we just have to live like we do because it's the best way to do it? Can we know anything at all? Which is, I suppose, is kind of a does get into things, but like then, how would I describe it? I remember listening to a talk before that kind of had this topic of discussion, a similar one to it, not exactly this one. What if it isn't to us at all? What if we're merely the camera recording experiences, like videos, while playing them in real time? We assume continuity of self, but it might be cut together clips. Ooh. Now that's a very interesting perspective. That's kind of like I suppose that's very similar to this the problem of unity that consciousness appears to have. At least the immaterialist would argue. Absolutely, either curl up into a ball of feudalism or live pragmatically as these possible illusions exist. That's kind of like, because I know that those who believe in the mind, the kind of immaterialists, or at least I suppose the materialists might argue this as well, but it's particularly an issue for the materialist, where you have the brain takes in so much data all at once. It's taking in auditory, color, it's focusing on balance, taking care of all these different things, all these separate data points. Somehow, from our perspective, form into a conscious experience, a unified conscious experience. It's not just a fucking blur of sounds and colors and smells and tastes. It is unified, and that's a very difficult thing to Why would it be like that? Why would these independent kind of individual processes all form a single unified process? A single unified subjective experience. We assume continuity of self. What if we're merely the camera recording experiences, like videos, while playing them in real time? I see what you mean, but I suppose at least what I would do in that case, if I was kind of thinking, is our point of view similar to a camera? A camera records things, and but I feel like for a camera, it's never experiencing anything. How would I describe it? Whatever output like a machine does, whether it's a calculator or a camera, ultimately its outputs are completely meaningless unless they're given some kind of meaning by us. That a calculator, when it when 2 plus and 2 are inputted, that it gives 4. That symbol of 4 means nothing. Welcome in, Haru. I don't necessarily know if drown check. Thank you, Haru. I don't necessarily know if I would agree with excuse me, unified meaning edited. Or maybe would I? Hmm. Because that is a really good way to put it. Sorry, sorry. I'm now kind of caught thinking. I hope you're well, Haru, and thank you very much for making me think, Hyde. And we give our own meanings to ourselves as well. Hard determinism would argue that we are just biological machines. Our processes might just be that such the illusion of free will is part of it. Are we talking about numbers? We're talking about the mind and whether it exists or not in the first place. And the scary considerations of whether that would fly or not. Hard determinism would. I would agree that if the materialists are correct, I would argue that they would have to have. I don't know about yours, but mine is that. Oh no, Haru, are you okay? Have you had a tough few days? Maybe. Maybe you're just very tired. Hmm. Would argue that we're just biological machines. I do think that if the materialist is correct, essentially, that I do think that that has to be accepted. Because I would, exams are draining. Oh no, exams are tough. I have one in a couple of weeks, so I'm studying away for it, but it's decent enough. I've done like 4 exam papers, and I found them pretty handy, other than a couple of areas that I kind of made mistakes on. But some of them were just silly mistakes. A few others were a little like kind of things that like I'm glad I made the mistakes because now I caught them and I understand. Gumballs, my guy. Gamballs. What? Oh, Gamba. Thank you, Haru. I was so confused. I thought you were talking about like the amazing world of Gumball for a second. I was like, what? But just to quickly answer you, Hyde, I would agree that I think if we are in purely material and there is nothing immaterial, then I think ultimately determinism would be the situation, and we would be biological machines. Now I'm someone who, I guess I'm sort of a realist about things like universals. Ultimately, I would put myself in a category of like Platonist or Aristotelian. But that's I don't know. Those are kind of the things that just seem to make sense to me from the limited knowledge I have on philosophy. I really, a part of me wishes I went into philosophy for a course, but unfortunately I was like, what do I do afterwards? That would be a little tricky. But yeah, I definitely see the strength of the eliminativist thing. If these arguments are there are arguments against that in hard determinism, quantum fluctuations, for example, quarks and gluons popping in and out of reality. But I do apologize again for derailing. No, no worries, no worries. Oh yeah, because quantum mechanics kind of suggests that things aren't necessarily deterministic. Um, Although I remember seeing something before, like some people talked about how like the idea of cause and effect, and this was like a big thing when I was looking into Aristotelian metaphysics and Thomist metaphysics, that cause and effect would have to be deterministic. But actually, I was reading a book before that kind of rejected that, then brought in quantum mechanics, and basically was arguing that um, there's no reason for the principle of causality as the Thomist or Aristotelian understand it has to be deterministic. As long as something, I think I don't know much about quantum mechanics, but I think one of the things was that like it was like something could happen and they'd be monitoring some atom or something, and it could cause what you would expect, at least some other atom reacting to it or whatever the fuck, or glucon or however it works. But then it would like way far away in some random location, seemingly with no cause, there would be another thing that pops in and out and immediately pops out of reality, or maybe that it relies on or viewing it before we see it, but or before it becomes actual. Um, but the argument was essentially that cause and effect doesn't necessarily imply deterministic. It just simply says that because that thing occurred, whatever atom or quark it was that they affected, and then far away this quark appeared. And I'm speaking very broadly because again I'm not familiar with quantum mechanics proper. Um, there's still a cause and effect there. That the effect of that specific quark appearing was caused by that thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to determine. There's a direct deterministic link that if that happened again, that would determine then that specific quark would appear there. Causality only appears to exist because we seem to experience time as a forward flow in one direction, a cause an effect, but say the time were objectively moving in different ways, or a dimension with multiple directions, as it were, causality would break down objectively. Sounds like you were talking about spooky action at a distance. I'm not aware of spooky action. That's a new term to me. Well, I don't necessarily. I'd actually, because there's different ways to understand cause. Cause doesn't necessarily have to. Well, I suppose it would imply time if you're talking about change. So, like one thing being one thing, and then something being another thing. Although then there's also causality in a hierarchical sense, where something has the power to do something or has a certain power, or you know how would I describe it? Because I understand. I think Aristotle understood causality as being like cause and effect, as being simultaneous. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're instantaneous, that they happen at exactly the same time. But I once saw before someone talk about causality not being necessary or not requiring there to be time one, time two. That you could understand it under a simultaneous perspective and even instantaneous. And this is a good example of, I suppose, of an instantaneous one. Is that if you threw a brick through a window, the breaking of the window, that the cause and effect there is the the cause of the brick going through the window and the breaking of the window, the effect of the breaking of the window, are the same thing, just viewed from opposite perspectives. And this is getting into Thomist and Aristotelian, me, what's it called again, metaphysics, where the active power of the brick to actualize the potential of the breaking of the window, the shattering of the window, is the the same change taking place as the actualization of the potential for the window to break as it happens. Frames of reference argument. I haven't heard it put it like that before. The way that I was looking at it was like in active powers and active potentialities and um, or active potentialities. That would just be actual things. Um, but I will look into. I mean, hang on. Let me just frames of reference. Frames of reference. I'll just type in theory, and I'm sure I'll find it. But that's a new one. Thank you for introducing that to me, Heidman, and thank you for being a pretty for strongly arguing the. I have to look up what spooky action means as well, because that's a, unless you just mean like spooky. Um, for giving a pretty strong way to look at eliminativism. Where were we? So yeah, I might get back into the reading. Some eliminativists would acknowledge that their position has a real difficulty here. Spooky action is an actual phenomenon. Ooh, cool. Some eliminativists would, but I suggest that it may be that we just don't yet have the conceptual. Oh, we read this. Hang on. Anything that could ever count as a theory. We read this as well, actually. Sorry, that was a 2 + 2 = 23 thing. No, Heidman. It's absolutely, really, really good. Really, I'm really enjoying it. Because it kind of puts me on the spot in attempting to argue things, and you know, when you're not reading from a book, it's a lot more difficult. It becomes a lot more difficult because you're trying to. Oh God, I got a little loud there. That lot was very loud. Apologies. Suddenly you're trying not to contradict yourself. You're trying to consider every aspect of things. So I hope that I'm at least presenting either fair considerations for what you're saying, or at least understanding you correctly. I'm not like misattributing ideas. Similarly, eliminative materialists seem ultimately to be proposing a theory which is by their own admission currently unintelligible, with a promissory note that someday we might be able to make it intelligible, but the promise can in principle never be kept, since the possibility of intelligibility, which requires that we can be able to understand or make sense of something, and thus involves intentionality, is something the theory itself appears to rule out as impossible. Eliminativists seem in effect to be inviting us to not believe their own theory, now or ever. So how can they blame anyone who takes them up on their offer? So I might, what I might do, because he's mentioned a few people before. He's mentioned people like Daniel Dennett and the Churchlands. I might try and pick up a book by the Churchlands and read a little bit about their theory of eliminativism, or I might just like try and find some articles on it proper to see kind of the extent of their arguments. The indeterminacy of the physical. So far, we have seen that all extant materialist attempts to deal with intentionality appear to face serious difficulties. The intuitive anti-materialist argument from intentionality, with which we began this chapter, remains as yet undefeated, but things are, in the view of the critics of materialism, and again I should reference that Edward Fesser is I suppose you could call him a theologian, but obviously he's very much on the side of the not the Cartesian dualist, simply that the mind exists, that it is immaterial, because he does see there as being issues for the Cartesian dualist as well. He accepts there being problems. In their view, there is, in addition to the fact that nothing material would seem capable of having any intrinsic meaning, a further problem. Even if something physical could have intrinsic meaning, it could not have, by itself, have the determinate meaning that it has. At least many mental states have. The argument is, in short, at least some intentional states and processes are determinate in their meaning. No physical state or process could possibly be determinate in meaning, so intentional mental states cannot be identified with or reduced to physical states and processes. We've already seen a number of ways in which physical processes can be inherently indeterminate. For instance, we noted in the previous chapter that it is indeterminate from its physical properties alone what interpretation is to be assigned to the algorithmic rules governing a computer, and it was suggested earlier in this chapter that it is indeterminate from the physical facts alone what counts as the beginning or end of a causal chain. It is, too, a generalization of considerations like these that some critics of materialism have appealed in developing not just an objection to this or that specific theory, but a comprehensive anti-materialist argument from the determinacy of meaning. If such an argument were to succeed, it would have the effect of buttressing Searle's suggestion, considered at the end of the previous chapter, that it is indeterminate from the third-person behavioral and neurophysiological facts about what meaning is to be assigned to a person's utterances. The upshot of Searle's argument was that meaning must inevitably be determined from the subjective first-person point of view. I suppose you could also argue that it doesn't exist in the first place. And this, together with the considerations we want to now examine, arguably tends to reinforce the suggestion, considered over the course of the previous few chapters, that first-person subjective facts are inexplicable in terms of third-person objective physical facts. These considerations will also suggest a way of responding to the possible objection to Searle, considered at the end of the previous chapter. Will also suggest a way of responding to the possible objection of Searle's consideration, considered at the end of the previous chapter, to the effect that mental states themselves may not be any more determinate than our physical processes. There are those frames of reference again. The considerations in question concern three interrelated manifestations of intentionality, or use of representations, or grasps of concepts, and our capacity for formal reasoning. Let us consider each of these. I'm going to have a sip of water. Nice. Excuse me. Representations. We've already taken note of the concept of mental representations and sentences of mentalese as possible candidates of what form mental representations might take. But let us now consider for a moment as much more pedestrian example of a representation, a drawing you might make of your mother. When you draw your mother, you are creating a kind of representation of her. But notice that it is not the particular physical features of the drawing itself, the form of the line you make, the chemicals and the ink you use, and so forth, which makes it a representation of her. The reason is not merely that one noted at the beginning of the chapter, namely that nothing physical seems capable of having any intrinsic intentionality. The reason is rather that it would apply even in the argument of the beginning of the chapter were to be rejected. Someone looking over your shoulder as you draw might later produce an exact copy of the drawing you are making. Perhaps the person admires your craftsmanship and wants to see if he or she can do as well. But in doing so, the person would not, strictly speaking, be drawing a representation of your mother. He or she may have no idea, nor any interest in who it was that you were drawing, but rather a representation of your representation. And in general, the very same image could count either as a drawing of an X, or as a drawing of a drawing as an X. Or indeed, supposing that someone looking over the shoulder of the second artist and copying what he or she was drawing, as a drawing of a drawing of a drawing of an X, and so on ad infinitum. Even if we count something as a drawing, and therefore possessing some intentionality or other, exactly what it is a drawing of is still indeterminate from its physical properties alone. The same is true of not just of drawings, but also of written and spoken words. For to say or write cat could be to represent cats. Ah, cats returns. But it could also be to represent the word cat. Or indeed of any material representation, included purported representations encoded in neural firing patterns in the brain. There seems in general to be nothing about the physical properties of a material representation that makes it that make it a material representation of an X as opposed to a material representation of an X. Yeah, cats. Hang on. Cats. Sometimes, however, you are determinedly thinking about a particular thing or person, such as your mother. Your thoughts about your mother is about your mother. It represents your mother and doesn't represent a representation of your mother. Representations, pictures, and the like might be the furthest thing from your mind. But then, given your thought, whatever it is cannot be entirely material. Given that there's nothing about a material representation per se, that could make it a representation of an X, as opposed to a representation of an X. If your thought was entirely material, then there would be no fact of the matter about whether your thought represented your mother as opposed to a representation of your mother. Your thought is determinate. Purely material representations are not. So your thought is not purely material. So that's kind of the argument. The materialist might reply that we shouldn't look at material representation in isolation to determine what it represents, but ought to also consider other factors, such as its conceptual relationships to other representations, its causal relations to the world, and the behavioral dispositions of or rules followed by the thinker having the representation. But as we've seen, such appeals to conceptual role, causation, behavioral dispositions, and rules have serious problems of their own, some of which also concern indeterminacy. In particular, if the suggestion is that some system of material representation of causal relations, behavioral dispositions, rules, or whatever determines meaning, the problem is that the same difficulties which arise when we consider a single representation in isolation just recur at a higher level. Any such system of material elements or principles indeterminate between alternative interpretations. Any such system of material elements or principles is indeterminate between alternative interpretations, but all representations seem, at least sometimes, not to be indeterminate in this way. 2. Concepts. In thinking about something, we bring it under a concept. We think of it as a cat or as a mother. And of course, we can also bring it under more than one concept. We might think of the same creature as both a cat and a mother. Either way, there is typically some determinate concept or concepts under which we bring whatever we are thinking about. We think of something as a cat or as a cat and a mother, say, and not as a dog or as a father. What it is that determines our thoughts involve bringing something under exactly this particular concept or set of concepts, rather than some other one. It seems rather than some other one. It seems it cannot be material facts alone. For instance, it cannot be some sort of physical relation, for example, a causal relation of ours to all actual cats, that makes our thoughts about cats involving applying the concept cat to them. For, to borrow an example from John Haldane, it could be that all actual cats also fall under a concept we can call maxiforn, where maxiforns are the most common four-legged animal whose average weight is W. And that's from most to W there is all in dashes, so it's all kind of one thing. Any physical relation of ours to cats will therefore also be a relation to maxiforns, but our thoughts about cats nevertheless involve applying the concept cats and do not involve the concept maxiforn. In that case, it cannot be the physical relation alone that determines what concept we are applying. As Haldane notes, the point is even clearer with examples like triangle and trilateral. This seems to kind of be getting into universals, doesn't it? Which are concepts applying to exactly the same objects in every possible world, unlike cats and maxiform. Since these concepts will apply to the same things in possible worlds where it is dogs rather than cats who are maxiforms. No physical relations between us and such objects can be sufficient to determine that we are thinking of them as triangular rather than trilateral. In general, there are always more ways to conceive of the objects of our thoughts than the physical facts can determine. Related to this point is a consideration that concepts are inherently abstract and universal, whereas material phenomena are concrete and particular. Accordingly, a concept cannot be identified with anything concrete, particular, or material, and thus it cannot be identified with any physical symbol in the brain or nervous system, nor can it plausibly be identified with a set of behavioral dispositions as is sometimes suggested, since, as noted above, behavioral dispositions are susceptible of various interpretations and are thus indeterminate in a way that, at least many, concepts are not. For similar reasons, the propositions we grasp, assent to, and deny, and of which concepts are the constituents, cannot be identified with sentences in the head, or with any other material entities. Propositions are necessarily abstract. Had there been no human beings, the proposition "there are no human beings" would have been true, even though there would then have been no sentence in the head for that proposition to be identical to. Had there been no physical world at all, the proposition "there is no physical world" would have been true as well, even though there would have been no physical entity of any sort for that proposition to be identical to. Some propositions are necessarily true, that is, true in all possible worlds, but no physical entity exists in all possible worlds. For example, there are possible worlds where there are no brains, and thus no sentences in the head, and so on. This is a sort of symbolic reasoning and semantic theory argument, strongly from a first-person subjective perspective, despite talking about objective and potentially third-person concepts. It's sort of taking that, how would you put it? It's basically assuming that the concepts that we give to things, or the terms we give to things, are correct, or are an objective aspect of reality, which I guess then you are just getting into an argument of universals versus of universalism versus nominalism. Excuse me. Excuse me. I had to cough. This obviously poses a further problem for the mental ease hypothesis, and for any theory which takes thought to consist of nothing but material processes. In the view of some critics of materialism, it also suggests a further general anti-materialist argument. When the mind grasps a concept or proposition, there is clearly a sense in which that concept or proposition is in the mind. But if these things are in the mind and yet, for the reasons given above, cannot be in the brain, it would seem to follow that the mind cannot be identical with the brain, or for that matter, with anything material. It's assuming something objective to which our subjective corresponds, like Greek forms. That's pretty much what I was meaning when I said, like, it's very much taking a universalist standpoint, where it's like, we seem to experience things like triangularity. He even mentions triangularity there, and it's the assumption then that our concept of triangularity, whether it be a Greek form, corresponds to reality and is an objective aspect of reality, which does seem to kind of be, how would you put it? I guess begging the question. Would that be the right term? I sometimes get confused. Do you ever be looking at something, Heidman? Maybe you read philosophy as well, or like you're reading a philosophy book, where it's less of an argument, less of like a thing that's kind of describing an argument, and it's actually someone giving an argument, and they'll be responding to some sort of thing, and it's like, how would you put it? They'll respond to some argument or some objection, and they'll say, well, that's just begging the question, but like they sometimes don't explain what the question is. Because I think it's more that sometimes I cannot be following what they're saying. Like I'm not 100% sure. Because it typically happens when it's very complicated, when it's kind of like highbrow stuff that I'm kind of just sitting there like, oh, okay, and then they're like, and that's just begging the question, so I'm going to ignore it, and I'm like, wait, hang on, please explain a little bit more. It's tautological to a degree. Yeah, like I can see the way the argument develops. It does. It's definitely taking a. I'm gonna say universalist, but in that sense, I'm not necessarily just talking about Greek forms. It is very much assuming that the way we talk about things and the concepts that we give them are real things there, and correspond to reality in ways that aren't material, and seems to kind of be taking that as just initially correct without providing a full argument. But I suppose, like, if you did accept something like universals, you would have you would have a strong argument there, but like that itself is a whole discussion, is a massive discussion. I would say actually that the nominalism versus universal or realism is a is probably one of the most important like metaphysical discussions one can have. I think a lot of your beliefs flow from whichever side you take from there. The problem is that they're presuppositions in any philosophy. Epistemology, as it were, isn't. Oh yeah, epistemology, as it were, it isn't always explained by the philosopher what their epistemological frame is. Yeah, a lot of sidetrack. No worries, no worries. Yeah, because if I wanted to go on to a huge discussion of like metaphysics, one, I'd probably do it terribly, and two, it's like you could go for that on hours and hours. But you are right. I think it is. Like I know, like for example, Plato definitely had a. Plato explains his epistemology where it's like we already know all the forms, or we know them in a way, but we aren't aware of knowing them, and it's only through like physical experience that we come to. What was it called again? The recollection argument, wasn't it? That we knew them prior to being embodied within things, and then it's true living that we experience the forms again, and coming to understand the forms, you to understand the various kind of universal concepts which lead up to understanding integrative unity and the different levels of reality which allows you to help understand. Well, actually, no. I think he argued that you had to understand the the idea of the good. I've heard different perspectives on it. Some argue that you have to understand the idea of the good first before you can understand anything else. But I think that's getting into like kind of Neoplatonist a little bit. But let me get back to the book. Uh, 3. Formal reasoning. Whatever one thinks of such an argument, and it surely stands in need of further development, the topic of I think pretty much exactly what you pointed out, Heidman. The topic of abstract thought brings us to one last respect in which mental states, especially thoughts concerning necessary truths, can be determinate in a way material processes are not. When we make judgments of a mathematical or logical sort, or judgments have a certain determinate form, the form of addition or squaring, for instance, or of modus ponens, conjunction or disjunction. Nothing that does not have exactly the form of 2 plus 2 equals 4 counts as adding 2 plus and 2 to get form. Or to get form 4. Nothing that does not have exactly the form that if Socrates is a man, then Socrates is immortal, Socrates is a man, so Socrates is mortal, has counts as an instance of reasoning via modus ponens. But as James F. Ross has argued, no physical process can have the determinate form had by such formal thought processes. Just as a paper plate or a frisbee can approximate a perfect circle, but can never truly realize one, that is paper plates, frisbees, and all other circular objects, physical objects, are never really circles at all, strictly speaking. Every true circle is already a perfect circle. So again, we're kind of relying on a universal perspective here. Neither can any physical process ever do more than approximate formal reasoning. When one considers the circle analogy, the intuitive plausibility of this claim already becomes evident. But Ross appeals to a number of results in recent philosophy to bolster the argument. One of them is Quine's argument for the indeterminacy of translation, already considered in the previous chapter. Quine argues that if the physical facts about us are all the facts there are, then there is no fact of the matter about what any of our utterances mean. Meaning will be indeterminate. This would entail that our reasoning processes would also be indeterminate. There would be, in fact, no fact of the matter about whether we are applying modus ponens, or only some approximation to it. Another relevant example is Saul Kripke's distinction, which Ross adapts for his own purposes, between addition and what he calls quaddition. Quaddition, where addition has the form x plus y, but quaddition has the form x plus y if x, y is less than 57. Wait, what? Okay, hang on. I'm gonna have to read this slowly because I'm sure there's some argument here. Um, Saul Kripke's distinction, which Ross adapts for his own purposes, and that's gonna solve Kripke's distinction between addition and what he calls quaddition, where addition has the form x plus y, but quaddition has the form x plus y if x, y. It just says if x and then a comma. I'm not too sure what it might mean there. So it's like x plus y, comma, if x, comma, y less than 57, comma, equals 5. Maybe there's no kind of restriction on x. Y just has to be less than 57. Equals 5 otherwise. Sounds like he is just playing with epistemological presuppositions, adding an extra one. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to understand what it is that he's. Yeah, I suppose it might just be he's just showing an example of what he means, not necessarily making a certain point with that. A calculating machine doing addition and a machine doing quaddition will give the same results when the numbers they're computing are less than 57. Okay, yeah. But when the one doing addition computes 58 and 100, it will get 158. Whereas the one doing quaddition will instead get 5. Okay. Sorry, I see. Oh. I understand it. Yeah. I just looked at that again and I was like, okay, now I see what the commas are meant to be. It's meant to be like if true and if not. Sorry. Apologies. Because they'll get the same results in the first case, there is no fact about their behavior that can then determine whether they are doing addition or quaddition. But suppose the difference in the results would manifest itself not as 57, but instead as some much higher number. Indeed, as at a number that is higher than the highest number either calculator is capable of displaying. Then there would be not only no way of knowing which of either of the machines was doing quaddition instead of addition, but no fact of the matter at all about which was performing which. The physical facts about the calculators are equally consistent with either addition or quaddition, and thus indeterminate between them. Well, I guess you could argue that there's data going on there. I mean, you could look at the internal, like, kind of computational, like, that would kind of be physical. Or not the data, but rather the which calculator is kind of programmed which way. I suppose if you're only relying on the output of each data, you could make this argument. But if, as with calculating machines, the physical facts about us were all the facts there are, then it would be indeterminate with us too whether we are performing addition or quaddition. But it isn't indeterminate. We do addition, period. Or doing so thus cannot be a purely material process. Yes, it is arbitrary which we use, as both are consistent within their own systems. It is indeterminate which corresponds to the objective reality. I suppose, because I definitely heard that symbol argument before. It's like if you, I guess it's kind of similar to the idea that if you just say, if you take 5 to have the same meaning as what we use to say 4, 2 plus 2 then equals 5. Although something seems just wrong about that. You're just renaming a word. You're still under the same modus or kind of system. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Laughs a lot. Whereas here, I guess if you're... I suppose the issue, though, becomes... Well, actually, no. There are instances in maths where you have multiple answers. Although they're never the same answer. So I was just thinking about things like, I guess, quadratic equations, where you can have, your x is going to be equal to plus or minus whatever when you do it out. God, it's been a long time since I've done any maths. I really should get back into it now, because because like it's we can't verify know which system is objectively right or wrong, essentially, simply because we cannot observe beyond our subjective perceptions to test objective truths without a presupposition of correspondence between the subjective experience and objective universal truth. Hmm. That is way more eloquently put than I could have put it. um, I suppose how, I'm just trying to think how I want to phrase it. Um, I guess the point I was trying to make was that, in those cases, you would have various quadditions where it would be equal to 5. Hmm. Actually, yeah, never mind. Yeah, no, I was wrong. Even thinking about addition, you can have 1 plus 4 equals 5, 2 plus 3 equals 5, 5 plus 0 equals 5. So I guess if the rules of your system has that anything that is equal to what we would say is 57 or greater is equal to 5, if that is the system you're using, I imagine there's probably, I suppose there is what would you call universal, uh, what do you call it, mathematical universalism or mathematical Platonism. But I'm very much not familiar with the philosophy of mathematics. But I also get what you're saying that like to assume in the first place that our observations or experiences of the world or how we set things up or understand things is reflective of objective reality is to presuppose that there is a connection there that but the issue is that if that that's sort of an unsubstantiated belief because you can't test that because if you try to objectively or scientifically test that um, it's basically circular reasoning. um, you can't sorry, I feel like I've been trolled for a loop even though I actually understand exactly what you're saying. I'm having trouble putting it as well as you. Correct. It is circular and tautological. Mm. Where was I? Yeah, let me read. Some materialists, Quine and perhaps Dennett, might reply that the right conclusion to draw from all of this is that, since, they claim, we are purely material beings, we don't in fact add or do modus ponens or carry out any other piece of formal reasoning after all. It only seems like we do because we approximate doing so. In fact, they might say all thought is as indeterminate as physical processes are. However, this move is not only highly counterintuitive, it entails that you never once added 2 and 2 to get 4, for example, but only think you have. But it threatens every argument that anyone has ever given, including any argument anyone has ever given for materialism. For if none of us really reason via modus ponens or any other valid argument form, then we never reason validly. Every single argument everyone has ever given will have been invalid. The materialist response would thus undermine itself. This shows just how extreme and costly it is suggested. This shows just how extreme and costly is the suggested reply to Searle considered at the end of the previous chapter. It also indicates that such a reply cannot succeed, for to claim that none of our thoughts is determinate seems demonstrably false. As Ross notes, even to deny that we really have determinate thoughts, certainly where the thoughts in question concern addition, modus ponens, and the like, presuppose that we have determinate thoughts, for even to deny that we ever add or do modus ponens requires that we grasp these operations, and to grasp them is to have a thought of a form as determinate as that which is grasped. And I think we're about to get into the metaphysics because the next thing is materialism, meaning, and metaphysics. So kind of all these references to to forms and universalisms, I am not surprised that we're looking at a. Yeah, here we go. Arguments of the sort considered in the previous section go back as far as Plato and Aristotle. Indeed, their contemporary proponents typically present them as merely reformulations in modern guise of essentially Platonic or Aristotelian lines of thought. And I'm not surprised I see those exact lines, insofar as these arguments tend, in essence, to expand some of the objections made to specific recent materialist theories of intentionality into comprehensive critiques of materialism. They illustrate the point I made in Chapter 3 that many of the criticisms directed at materialism today are but variations of the same objections that have been made for 2.5 millennia. The point is further bolstered if we accept the intentionalist thesis that to be a subject of conscious experience is just to be a subject of certain intentional states, so that the problems of consciousness and qualia, often taught to constitute distinctively modern challenges to materialism, really boil down at the end of the day to the ancients' problem of intentionality. And that was sort of a point that Fesser made earlier. He kind of argues that the problem of consciousness and qualia and other such areas is really just a reformulation, and can be boiled down to the problem of intentionality. In summary, the difficulty intentionality seems to pose for the materialists is this. If Searle is right, intrinsic meaning or intentionality and the first-person point of view of the conscious thinking subject are inexplicably bound up together. If the arguments of the preceding chapter are right, meaning or in section are right, meaning or intentionality, and thus the first-person point of view of the conscious thinking subject, are irreducible to and inexplicable of, in terms of anything material, including the brain, dualism would seem to be vindicated, or eliminativism, which I think is kind of what you would say. Well, I can imagine you saying that, Heidman. You know, I don't think necessarily that Fesser does seem to be just kind of, how would you put it, tossing materialism away. But it might be. I think I will look up Churchland, or I might try and find a book that specifically looks at eliminative materialism. I think it would be definitely an interesting read. Even though there's something intuitively in me against accepting it, personally. But if that is the case, and Fesser has argued correctly, that would seem to necessitate that I probably take a following the lines of logic doesn't mean we have to subscribe to them, right? Oh, like I mean, like if I suppose if what I would argue there is that if the logic is correct, and it essentially means that it's like if if their arguments are sound and valid, you should probably either accept them with obviously a kind of caution to be that there may be further problems that we haven't noticed about the logic. But yeah, you can follow the lines of logic and be like, does this adequately make sense? But I think if something is like logically correct, you should probably be like, okay, yeah, sure. As long as it does kind of, how would I put it? I suppose it might go back to the systems thing, because logic you could argue is just another form of a system with symbols and rules and things that kind of require certain presuppositions in the first place. Then again, what do you even go after logic? Oh, I'm out of water. Excellent. Materialism, meaning, and metaphysics. Oh yeah. Materialists might, nevertheless, suggest that we shouldn't be too quick to draw such a conclusion. For is the dualist really in any better position than the materialist where meaning or intentionality is concerned? How, after all, does appeal to the existence of a non-physical subject or non-physical properties explain intentionality? Hasn't the dualist really just supplanted one mystery? The mystery of intentionality? Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what I was putting in, internally, that like within the system, it may be sound, but that doesn't necessarily imply that it is correct. Yeah, yeah. It is raining. Rain makes things wet. My shoes are wet. Therefore, the rain made my shoes wet. But what if it didn't? What if I spilled some water on my shoes? Sound logic, but incorrect. I suppose you would then need to make the point that uh, what would you be? You need to make further qualifications there that the shoes were dry, uh, that your shoes are in the rain or are now in the rain, and then they're then you could make it a stronger argument. But yeah, that's kind of a good way to put it, and that was kind of what I was trying to say. That things can be logically consistent within their systems, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are correct. But I suppose under what I was saying, under Fesser's kind of arguments, if the arguments of things like if the argument of things like intentionality, uh, meaning, qualia, consciousness, if they do seem to be irreducible to materialist explanations, if that is sound logic, then it seems that the two solutions we have are either a sort of dualism or a kind of eliminativism, or some other third thing, which I do know Fesser gets into a little bit further. Materialists might nevertheless suggest that we shouldn't be too quick to draw such a conclusion. How does the oh yeah how does the appeal to the existence of a non-physical subject or non-physical properties explain intentionality? Hasn't the dualist really just supplanted one mystery, the mystery of intentionality, with another, namely the mystery in the nature of operation of non-physical minds, basically the interaction problem? And doesn't the interaction problem, oh, there we go, that has plagued the dualist since Descartes' time indicate that the second mystery is itself unlikely to be solved? As we've seen when considering the argument from reason and the problem of mental causation, it isn't quite right to say that the interaction problem poses a challenge to the dualist alone, but the questions raised just are fair. The dualist might respond that the point of arguments of the sort considered in the last section isn't to be explained intention, isn't to explain intentionality in the first place, but rather to demonstrate that whatever intentionality is, it isn't physical. And if it isn't, to try to find some physical explanation of it will be a waste of time. Of course, the materialist might complain that non-physical processes are not the kind that can possibly be studied via the methods of physical science. But to this, the dualist could reply that it is a mistake to think that physical science is the only legitimate avenue of inquiry. The proper approach is to the study of mind. Is it, sorry, I'm kind of stuttering. I feel like I'm speed reading a little. Let me slow it down. But to this, the dualist could reply that it is a mistake to think that physical science is the only legitimate avenue of inquiry. The proper approach is to the study of mind, in the dualist's view, is via metaphysics rather than physics, and philosophy rather than natural science. For, since in the dualist's view the arguments for dualism show that the mind is non-physical, they thereby show also that it is only via inquiry with other than scientific inquiry that we are going to understand its nature, if we are going to understand it at all. For the materialist to reject the possibility of such inquiry a priori would simply be to beg the question against the dualist. The question here being whether science is the only form of inquiry that we can use to study the mind, I suppose. But can metaphysics really say anything to clarify the nature of non-physical minds that hasn't been said already by Descartes and his successors? That brings us to the topic of our final chapter, where we will see that, as with some of the arguments we've considered in this chapter, dualists may be well advised to look to their ancient rather than modern forebears to find the most promising means of defending their position. And that kind of brings us to further reading, and there's actually a little bit here. Different versions of eliminative materialism are articulated and defended by Paul Churchland in Eliminative Materialism and Propositional Attitudes. And so, scientific realism and the plasticity of mind. Stephen Stitch, folk psychology to cognitive science, the case against belief. The objection that eliminative materialism is ultimately self-refuting is developed by Lynn Rudder Baker in Saving Belief, a critique of physicalism. So I'll definitely be taking a look. I'm gonna fold over this page here to keep in mind to try and pick up one of those. But that kind of brings us to chapter 8, persons. And here we're going to get into how many pages are left. There's only about one, so 210. There's only about 30 pages left. I could even try and read a little bit more. Maybe. A more famous example might be the problem of induction. I feel like I've read about that before, but it's... Hang on, let me look it up. I typed in famous rather than problem. Yeah, that was Hume. Oh, yes, sorry, yeah, that's I definitely read about this before. Yeah, it essentially requires that at least the argument from Hume is that induction kind of requires induction itself. Just showing how systems have sound logic while not being logical sound systems. Oh, okay. I think I probably like glanced at it before because I only recently got into philosophy of mind. I suppose this is a beginner's guide, so and I never really got. Well, no, that's not necessarily philosophy of mind. That's more logic. I should probably read about logic. I don't have it actually. I don't have a critique of reason and pure reason and a critique of what's the other kind of reason? By Kant. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave the reading there. Actually, let me just see. Yeah, you know what? I've been streaming for almost 2 hours now. My brain hurts. I would recommend studying it from the perspective of the sociology of science. Makes it less dry. Ah, okay. I will study logic from perspective of sociology of science. Of science. Thank you, Haydn. I will look into that. If you have anything, feel free to DM me or something, or maybe put it into my Discord. Hang on, I can. Oh wait, I did. This should work. I misspelled that. Don't look at that. There you go. But feel free to like DM me on Twitter or something if you have any suggestions to read about it or any articles that I could look into, because this seems to be an area that you're pretty strong in, Haydn. It very well might be that this is all kind of like stuff you're already very familiar with, and I'm like bumbling through it. But thank you for the suggestion, and thank you all for joining me. I felt like I got a little. I felt like the reading kind of fell apart a little bit at points, or not that it fell apart, but it kind of just like I was stuttering a lot. But I suppose it happens. You have to deal with it. Oh, and thank you, Lancelot, for the stretch redeem. Sure, I can recommend some intro books. No worries. We all bumble. Thanks for the stream. No worries at all. I really enjoy it. Hyde. It's very interesting. Ugh. Wait, Hyde, aren't you're, yeah. Hang on. Yeah, hang on. What I might do is, let me just do this real quick, because I'm pretty sure you're a streamer, aren't you, as well? Pretty sure. Or maybe are you just I think you might be I do stream, just not here. Yeah, that's what it is. I was just about to say. I'm pretty sure you're a YouTube streamer. Hang on, I will, because I want to try and catch you sometime. Why is it not allowing me to just? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so unfortunately, if you guys follow from the shout out, you won't catch his streams. But he is on YouTube. I will throw it in there. There we go. So subscribe. How did you get into this stuff? Welcome back, Quiet. I'm actually just probably about to finish up in a little bit. How did you get into this stuff, Hyde? Is it like an area of study for you? Is it had to go back to the office to get coffee? Ooh, are you need your morning coffee, Quiet? Need to wake up. Oh, you needed to go to the office then get coffee. Ah, I see. That's like a ritual for people. I accidentally also almost minored in philosophy in university. I see. Wait, oh, did you do like a good couple of classes on it? Need the palpitations. I remember one time after a particular hard session on chest in like after the gym, my pec was twitching like on its own, and it felt like my heart was like kind of like freaking out. It like freaked me out. I was like, am I about to have a heart attack in the middle of class? It was such a weird feeling. But obviously I'd focused on a certain thing, and it was just like constant, and it was irregular too. So it was like I almost minored in philosophy in university. We didn't really have that. I got so confused because when I've gone, it's just like, here's your course, here's your classes. Your classes are direct towards your course. We didn't have like a minor or anything. At least I didn't. I'm pretty sure no one else did. We just had a course. So maybe American. Maybe I could have done philosophy. But I'm guessing, did you do a couple of like intro classes to it? That's pretty cool. I'm jealous. I need to just like, I'm sure there's loads of like free philosophy, because there's loads of like intro to and like history of philosophy that I could watch. But like if there's anything that's kind of directed specific, I'm sure I could find. There's always just like entire courses. Some colleges are like that. I went into a liberal arts uni, so there were a lot of credits outside my major. That's how it works. Okay, yeah, because all of my credits were just like my entire course. Art courses are kind of like that. Like you have your main things, but you can do electives as well. We had electives, but for the thing that I was doing, it's sort of like either do this or like you're gonna have problems down the road with later stuff. Welcome in, D. Welcome in. Another lovely tuba. We'll give them. Hang on, give them a quick shout out. NPC underscore demon. But very jealous Heidemann. That sounds very cool to be able to. Because I wanted to do philosophy, but I did get a little. I chickened out. I'm not gonna lie. It didn't shout out. What? Thanks for the shout out, but it didn't shout you out. Did I spell it? I didn't. I spelled it. I spelled it correctly. I'm pretty sure. It didn't do like the thingy. Unless there's a timer, but hang on, I copied and pasted. Oi! Shout out. Twitch. Work. I'm unshout-outable. Well, you know what? You know what I'll just do? Hang on. How do I... Do I do a thing? An enigma. Did you at... This is why you shouldn't stream on Twitch. You're not gonna convert me to a YouTube streamer, Hyde. I'm sorry, that's just not gonna happen. No, I didn't at Hydeman. I didn't at Hydeman, so it worked. On him. Maybe this will work. What if I did shout out? Will that work? Alright, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, D. Clearly it's just being annoying. Inbuilt. There we go. There we go. Now it's gonna work. Do I have to at that? I feel like at this point, if you guys haven't followed D already, then like at this point the shout out is just useless. There we go. Okay, okay. Now it worked. Fucking stream elements being useless. But apologies. I'm a little bit scuffed when it comes to things. There we go. Yeah, exactly. Quite. You did at me in the message with the shout out. I don't think, did I? I don't think so. I don't have an at in mind. I just typed in Hydeman. I play puzzles and I read, and once a month I sing. There you go. She's very cozy. I would definitely recommend. But I think now I'm going to look for someone to raid. Who's on? Hang on, I better. Oh no, I'm automatically muted. So there's quite a few people on. No, I'm sorry, Kwai. I finished up the chapter. Did I come at the end? I know, yeah, both of you guys. You know what? Hang on. Let me see. Is there anything that I can just do right now? That I can extend the stream like 5 or 10 minutes? Apparently I dropped 496 frames. When did that happen? It probably happened when I just secret karaoke. Okay. What do you guys want me to do? What do you guys want me to sing? I'll do it a cappella. I'll do it like a cappella. You guys get a secret singing stream. Only the people who are viewing could catch it. Great minds, yeah, exactly. We'll do it for like a little bit. We'll do it for a little bit. I can't be too loud though, because people are like asleep. So I might have to like sing quietly. A carol. Okay. I did a load of carols recently, D. You can listen to me sing without the music because I forgot to record it alongside my Twitch stream because I had the music silent. But I can do like jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells swing and jingle bells ring, dancing and prancing in Jingle Bell Square, in the frosty air. What a bright time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Jingle bell time is a swell time to go gliding in a one-horse sleigh. Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet. Jingle around the clock. Mix and mingle in the jingling beat. That's the Jingle Bell Rock. A little quick version of Jingle Bell Rock. I could do what else could I do? all those cute emotes. I like last lot one, just the head moving. I think that's just a normal Twitch emote. Did that? Oh. Quiet. Wait, oh my god, what is that? That reminds me of something. That reminds me of oh, what was it called? I remember a friend of mine used to always sing it because he knew it was like it would like get me. I'd be like, oh, stop. um, that's my first and last sauce here. Don't worry, don't worry. I don't think anyone will blame you. I think you're the only person I follow. That's, you know what? That's a good last lot. No one else should. I don't have any special emotes. It's okay. If you just start watching random streams, you'll randomly be given subscribe like gift subs, and you'll get all their fancy emotes. I am subscribed to a couple of friends, so like my I really enjoy cats. I really enjoy her stuff. I also follow. I have a few. I like Kankaro. Who else do I? I love Astria's emotes. They're so cute. They're like my main emotes that I use. I'm just showing off now. What is it? Oh yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, my friend used to always like we'd be in class together or like thank you for the carol. He'd be like uh how does it go again? Oh yeah, it's the one that goes my neck, my back, lick my and my neck, my back. Because this is a say so stream. I'm not gonna sing that. Welcome in, Kankaro. But that's what he used to always do that. Like we'd be in class and he'd just suddenly start doing it really quietly, so only I could hear him. I'd feel like, will you shut the fuck up? Stop. PG-13 version, yeah. Uh, wait a minute. What part of a person do you lick if you're keeping it PG-13? What? Oh, have you guys ever seen there's a guy who did like a swing version of this, like like a lounge version. It's so funny. It's so funny. It's like, all you ladies pop your pussy like this. Shake your body, don't stop, don't miss. All you ladies pop your pussy like this. Shake your body, don't stop, don't miss. That's the only time you guys will ever hear me saying unsay so words is in a song. That's the only way you can get it out of me. What's another? That's not a Christmas carol, by the way. That's not a. You should not be singing that when you're caroling. You're going door to door, and they open up, and you're just more, more. Well, you have to suggest lewd songs that I know and I'm willing to sing. Christmas is wild in your part of the world. Oh, that would be so funny. Suggest you're the one who wants to hear it, Kawhi. It's not my fault. I'm just the e clown. I'm the internet e clown. I can't give a say so response. I know Hydeman. I was kind of running into that as well. I was gonna do like I was gonna sing a version that was PG-13, but then I ran in and I was like, what? wait, what can we suggest to do that is PG-13? No, I should be the clown. Remember? Oh yeah. Oh guys, have you guys ever seen Kwai's uh like art? Her like profile. Her if you guys click her thing there, you'll see some art she did of like, what would you call it? Her thing, and she's like a Siamese clown. It's really cool. Hang on, wait. Will I show it on stream? I think I should show it on stream. Is that okay, Kwai? Kwai, two heads. Show the freak. Mm-hmm. He's like a Siamese clown. I like how the neck thing has to be like extra wide for them. Or are they wearing two? Or it is conjoined, isn't it? Where'd you get that? I literally just copied it from your Twitter right now. I just saved it and posted it. Like how one's happy, the other's sad. And I like the way that the pink hat on the right, and then the pink on the left, and then there's like the colors are constantly mixed and matched. It's very nice. What are other songs I could? Very warm colors. A happy and a sad. I know, I know. What a. Hang on, let me just check something. She also did. She also did this. She also did this a little. I might get her to do my sad emote. Wah. This is what happens when I run out of marshmallows to cook on the campfire. There's no marshmallows. How can we make s'mores? What are we gonna eat? Can't eat anything. Guys, someone give me marshmallows. It is very cute, and I think this would be such a good, like if you just have the face, that would be so good for a crying emote, and it's the one that I want to commission you for, Kwai. I think that would be so cute. If I was still a sketch, I would even just clip the head, and I would just use that. You are the marshmallow. Don't cook me. Don't burn me on the fire. No. But wait, no, I'm not going to entertain that thought. Or say so. What else could I? What else could I sing? Real quick. I could do. Never you mind, D. I could do. I just did that. Jingle bells. You know what? It's not a carol, but I just kind of want to do it. What time is it there? It's 1:15. 1:15 at night, so it's all good. But I'm now done. I have no reasons to get up really early, so I can chill out. And I usually do that by staying up really late and then getting up late as well. Excuse me. Bedtime. Yeah, in a little while. I'll probably watch a stream after I finish too. But I could do Never Too Much by Luther Vandross. I did that during the carol or during the karaoke stream. And I listening back to it. It's not actually that as bad as I thought it would be. So I could do that. Especially because now I'm not trying to race to keep up with the tune, with the actual music. Crying wooer. Wooer. I like that. It's a little wooer. I'm just a real wooer. Leave me alone. Okay. Oh my god, what do I can't fool myself. I can't fool myself. I don't want nobody else to ever love me. You are my shining star, my guiding light, my love fantasy. There's not a minute, hour, day, or night that I don't love you. You're at the top of my list, 'cause I'm always thinking of you. I still remember in the days when I was scared to touch you, how I spent my day dreaming, planning how to say I love you. You must have known that I had feelings deep enough to swim in. That's when you opened up your heart and you told me to come in. Oh, my love, 1,000 kisses from you is never too much. And I just don't wanna stop. Oh, my love, a million days in your arms is never too much. And I just don't wanna stop. Too much, never too much, never too much, never too much. And then there's like a cool little instrumental piece. It's like boom, 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 da dum, da dum. It's really cool. Trust me. Woke up today, looked at your picture just to get me started. I called you up, but you weren't there, and I was broken hearted. Hung up the phone, can't be too late, the boss is so demanding. Opened the door up, and to my surprise, there you were standing. Who needs to go to work to hustle for another dollar? I'd rather be with you, 'cause you make my heart scream and holler. Love is a gamble, and I'm so glad that I am winning. We've come a long way, and yet this is only the beginning. Oh, my love, 1,000 kisses from you is never too much. And I just don't wanna stop. Oh, my love, 1,000 kisses from you. Hang on. I did that wrong. Let me try it again. And I just don't wanna stop. Oh, my love, 1,000 kisses from you is never too much. A million days in your arms is never too... I've suddenly forgot how to do the ending. I forgot how the ending went. But thank you guys for the little dancings. There's a song that I really want to do. I don't know if I could do it a cappella though, because I haven't really... Yeah, I'd have to spend a little time learning it proper. I could do a song. If any of you guys know who Tom Waits is, he's done a really... This is a bit of a sad song. Do you guys want a sad song? Or kind of a bittersweet song? I don't want to send you guys off with a sad song, though. I'd want to do a happy song afterwards. Gravelly voice man, yes, the piano has been drinking. Like, I don't have his kind of gravelly voice. I don't have that at all. But I'll try. Do 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 do. Operator, number please. It's been so many years. Will she remember my old voice while I fight the tears? Hello, hello, there is this Martha, this is old Tom Frost, and I am calling long distance. Don't worry about the cost, 'Cause it's been 40 years or more now. Martha, please recall. Meet me out for coffee, where we'll talk about it all. Thank you, Mr. SpongeBob, for the follow. It's very kind. Suggest your song in a moment. Meet me out where we'll talk about it all. And those were days of roses, of poetry and prose, and mother, all I had was you, and all you had was me. There was no tomorrows, we'd packed away our sorrows, and we saved it for a rainy day. And I feel so much older now, and you're much older too. How's your husband? And how's your kids? You know that I got married too. Lucky that you found someone to make you feel secure. 'Cause we were all so young and foolish, now we are mature. And those were days of roses, of poetry and prose, and mother, all I had was you, and all you had was me. There was no tomorrows, we'd packed away our sorrows, and we saved them for a rainy day. And I was always so impulsive, I guess that I still am. And all that really mattered then was that I was a man. I guess that our being together was never meant to be. Martha, Martha, I love you, can't you see? And those were days of roses, of poetry and prose, and Martha, all I had was you, and all you had was me. There was no tomorrows, we'd packed away our sorrows, and we saved them for a rainy day. And I remember quiet evenings, trembling close to you. And thank you, SpongeBob. You have a nice vibe and voice. Thank you so much. It's very, very much appreciated. I actually need to go fill up my water bottle, so I'll be back in a moment. I'm back. Oh no, I made him leave. You did. You did. Those couple of seconds without me when you guys were with Fauna and her saplings when she leaves and they all go, ooh, where's Fauna? That's what you guys were just like, totally. But thank you for the hydrate. Chippy chippy chappa chappa doopy doopy dappa sappa. I don't know what that means. I hope I didn't just like do a curse. And thank you so much for June's Sama. I love Fauna. Ooh, Fauna. Ah, where's Rua? Ah. Ooh, where's Rua? Where's Rua? He's gone. Ah. Ooh. Okay, quiet. This is very important. I'm gonna need this. I'm gonna need to commission you soon for this. I need this. I need us to be able to go ooh when I leave. And welcome in Kankaro. I need to get a happy too. I love that happy. I love those so much. They're so good. I think it's Gunpie who does it, isn't it? I'm gonna have to get on Gunpie and commission her too. I'm always open. I will be doing that soon. Also, my Treaty-O. Yeah, check her out. Will do. Will do. Because that's such a cute emote. It's really nice. What other song? Because I don't want to end it on a sad song. I don't know if you caught it, Kankaro, but I did Tom Waits' Martha. With some happy songs. Cause I'm happy. Rua streams are the right amount of energy after a busy day at the puppet shop. Oh, thank you, Kankaro. Happy song. Like, there's definitely certain streams you want at certain times, and then there are other streams you want at other times. I'm just trying to think of a song. For some reason, I've now gone blank on. Oh, what's Oh, do I know Speedball Tucker well enough to do it? I drove a broke down rig on May pop tires, 40 foot of overload. A lot of people say that I'm crazy because I don't know how to take it slow. I got a broomstick on the throttle. I opened her. No, I don't know it well enough to do it. That's one that I'm not too fully familiar. It's really fun and really like hype and peppy, but I need to spend a little time on it. There's another song actually by Jim Croce that's very familiar or very similar to Tom Waits' Martha. Like the idea of it is kind of the same, where it's someone calling a prior lover, and kind of reminiscing. But in Tom Waits' version, he gets true to her, while in Jim Croce's version, Operator, he doesn't, and he ends up, the character ends up not calling her in the end. But it's one of his. It's such a good song. It's stupidly good. Ooh. You know what I could do? I just don't want to do it with music because I'm a little concerned I'd get too loud. I can do Uptown got its hustlers, the Bowery got its bums, 42nd Street got Big Jim, a Walker, he a pool shooting son of a gun. Yeah, he's big and dumb as a man can come, but he's stronger than a country hoss. And when the bad folks all get together at night, you know they all call Big Jim boss, just because. And they say you don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit in the wind, you don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim. I don't dee 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 dee. Well, out of South Alabama come a country boy, say he's looking for a man named Jim. I am a pool shooting boy, my name is Willie McCoy, but down home they call me Slim. That's not right. I am a pool shooting boy, my name is Willie McCoy, but down home they call me Slim. Yeah, I'm looking for the king of 42nd Street, he drive an old drop top Cadillac. Last week he took all my money, and it may sound funny, but I come to get my money back. And everybody say, Jack, don't you know, you don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit in the wind, you don't pull the mask off that old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim. I don't, dee 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 dee. Well, a hush fell over the pool room as Jimmy come bopping in off of the street. And when the cutting was done, the only part that wasn't bloody was the soles of the big man's feet. Yeah, he was cut in about 100 places, and he was shot in a couple more. And you better believe they sung a different kind of story when Big Jim hit the floor. Oh, they say you don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit in the wind, you don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Slim. I don't, dee 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 dee. Yeah, you don't. No, wait, that's it. It probably repeats the chorus twice, but I stopped. What is that emote? Oh, it's a dog being very drunk. Azaru chill dog. Nice. Take another sip of water. I could do like an Irish song. Have you guys ever heard of Sick Note? The Sick Note. It's a one that always kills at any like bar you go to. Especially like if you're Irish and you're looking for a song to sing. There's a bully the viewer redeem. Oh, that's a timeout redeem. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, bully the viewer, time them out. Not the bricks always kills. I'd like. Sure, sure. So it's a song called Sick Note. It's about a fella who had an unfortunate accident, but it's fairly well done. Now it's a little bit higher, but I'll try my best. Dear sir, I write this note to you to tell you of me plight, and at the time of writing, it is not a pretty sight. Me body is all black and blue, me face a deathly grey, and I write this note to say, why Paddy's not at work today. While working on the 14th floor, some bricks I had to clear. Now to throw them down from such a height, 'twas not a good idea. The foreman wasn't very pleased, he being an awkward sod. He said I'd had to cart them down the ladders in me hod. Now, clearing all these bricks by hand, it was so very slow. So I hoisted up a barrel and secured the rope below. But in me haste to do the job, I was too blind to see that a barrel full of building bricks was heavier than me. So when I untied the rope, the barrel fell like lead, and clinging tightly to the rope, I started up instead. Well, I shot up like a rocket, till to my dismay I found that halfway up I met the bloody barrel coming down. Well, the barrel broke me shoulder as to the ground it sped, and when I reached the top, I banged the pulley with me head. Well, I clung on tight, though numb with shock from this almighty blow, and the barrel spilled out half the bricks 14 floors below. When these bricks had fallen from the barrel to the floor, I then outweighed the barrel, and so started down once more. Still clinging tightly to the rope, I sped towards the ground, and I landed on the broken bricks that were all scattered around. Well, I lay there moaning on the ground, I thought I'd passed the worst, when the barrel hit the pulley wheel and then the bottom burst. Well, a shower of bricks rained down on me, I hadn't got a hope, as I lay there groaning on the ground. I let go the bloody rope. The barrel then being heavier, it started down once more and landed right across me as I lay upon the floor. Well, it broke 3 ribs and my left arm, and I can only say that I hope you'll understand why Paddy's not at work today. It's one of my favorite songs. It's so good. It always gets such a big laugh if you're singing at like a bar or something when you do the as I lay there groaning on the ground, I let go the bloody rope because it's it's so unexpected. It's just so good. I love it. I just realized, Kwai, you're listening to me in your office. Are all of your workmates? Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Hello, hello to Kwai's friends. I hope you're all doing well. Your friend Kwai is really nice. Yeah. Let me just check something real quick. Eh, Oh, oh no. Yeah, Kwai listens to me. She starts her day with me when I'm streaming, and then she has her friends. But thank you guys. I'm not nice. I'm naughty. Oh. Um. But yeah, and then she has her office mates listening to me. I will say, isn't that like a really high compliment to get that from the Philippines? Isn't like karaoke huge over there? Or am I thinking of a different country? I'm certain there's like, I think it is. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, I think it is the Philippines, or it might be one of that region anyway, where karaoke is like really big and everyone has like really good singing voices because they're always singing. But thank you to Kwai's friends. You guys, I don't know if you still haven't followed me on Twitch. What are you guys doing? I asked this already. No, no, no. I'm happy to be the work entertainment for you guys, I suppose. See, this is why Kwai is a really good boss. She's giving you guys great entertainment. Oh, you gotta play Sea of Thieves, Rue. Did you just call me Rue? Excuse me, Cancro? Did you just call me Rue? What? Calling me Rue? You can't even do the at the end. Sea shanty potential. I've actually wanted to play Sea of Thieves for a long time. I feel like that could be so fun, and I would be so down for doing it. Like, what will we do with the drunken sailor? What will we do with the drunken sailor? What will we do with a drunken sailor early in the morning? Shave his belly with a rusty razor. Shave his belly with a rusty razor. Shave his belly with a rusty razor. Early in the morning. I have never typed ooh in a sentence before meeting you. Yeah, it's like the the instinct isn't there. These series of letters do not exist in my vocabulary. Yeah, it seems many people really, really struggle with it too. Either saying my name on stream is something that they really, really struggle with. I miss the sea shanties of Tees, but the Assassin's Creed's sea shanties were oh, they made that game so, so good. Rue is so cute though. D, why are you shouting out me? Those letters wouldn't fly in Scrabble. No, they wouldn't. You know the bard song from The Witcher? I didn't play The Witcher much. I tried it before. I didn't have time to get into it. Uh, Maybe it's something I can play another time, but I could look it up. What What's a good sea shanty from Assassin's Creed? There is actually a song in Irish that has the same. I don't know if which one influenced the other, but it has very much the same thing as "What Will We Do with a Drunken Sailor?" If you guys would like to hear that, um, so the part that you guys would do, and you know what, Kwai, maybe your guys, maybe your coworkers would like to sing along with me, so you guys could do it as like a big thing, and everyone else who's listening, the part that you would do would be. Oro shedava hawalya, oro shedava hawalya, oro shedava hawalya, ahanisher hotan saurig. Also, for June Sama, I think I did say thank you. But but thank you for the follow again. Toss a coin might match your voice. I'll have to look that one up. But that's kind of what you guys is like would sing along with me. So O Roche the Vata Vahawalya, and then you would repeat that 3 times, and it's O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, O Roche the Vahawalya, Ahani Sher Hogdan Saurig. That would kind of be the response to the chorus, I suppose. You have a bard-like voice, Rue. No, Kankaro, what have you done? You've given me a nickname now. I'm now Rue. Rue. It's not even rude. Like, if you guys add an extra Rue, then it's kind of cutesy. Rue. Hi, Rue. um, yeah. I like that. Rue. That's cute. But, Rui. Shedava. No. Yeah, that's it. Shedava vandelen var du berkrak tu ven even da du hivra hesellum merlok. Is du deal to leshnu gaulu. Oro shedava hawalya. Oro shedava hawalya. Oro shedava hawalya. Ahanishir hogtan saurig. Tagron je vele hekshot karmalja. Ole gar mahagela gara gelius fenis ni frank na spanig. Is korhig ruiger galliv. Oro shedava hawalja. Oro shedava hawalja. Oro shedava hawalja. Ahanisher hotan saurig. Avuilarina havart go vecum monamien bio in a hak shakten granja vel agus mil gaskiuk. Eg fogert faun galliv. Oro shedava hawalya. Oro shedava hawalya. Oro shedava hawalya. Eg fogert. No, wait, no, that's not it. Anisher Hopton Saurig. Oh. He needs to sing that petition to get Rue to learn Toss a Coin. I will look into it. I will look into Toss a Coin. It sounds good. It sounds kind of cool. What's some other other Irish tunes that I could do? That would be kind of from the TV show. Oh yeah, they did a Witcher show, and wasn't Henry Cavill? Didn't he play Geralt? He is a handsome man, isn't he? He's like if I could have any face, it would probably be Henry Cavill's. Like he is like chin chisel from Marvel. I think he's way better looking than what's his name? The guy who plays Thor. It's just and then the other perfect part about it is that like he's just a massive nerd. It's great. I remember he like annoyed the creators of that show because he was like, but the books, the lore, the actual lore of the series, he was like constantly correcting them, which I say based. He should just be in charge of it. To be fair, Chris Hemsworth, that's is a good-looking guy who is fucking ripped. If you were a Star Trek fan, Chris Hemsworth grew 5 sizes in the span of 4 years. Oh yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. that's kind of the thing about, all those actors who get really, really buff, they're pretty much all on steroids for the most part. And well, not necessarily steroids, but they're all on very strict programs and probably have some of the best, not probably, have some of the best healthcare specialists helping them build massive amounts of muscle. Any of them that have like huge amounts of muscle, um, I mean, I don't even have to talk about The Rock, but like, it's not just rice and chicken and broccoli. Uh, but that's like let's be honest. If someone came to me and was like, "Hey, you're gonna be the star in the next show, in this new movie, but you need to put on 30 pounds of muscle in the next 3 months," but we have this plan in place, and that's not to say that Chris Hemsworth didn't put in the work, or any of those actors don't put in the hard physical work that's required. They absolutely do. It's like it's their job essentially to do that, to train and get buff as fuck and eat perfectly and be on all these things. So I'm not taking that away from them at all. There's massive amount of work that went into that, sculpting that body. That's not just you know, supplements, let's call them. I think even uh, Ryan Reynolds kind of poked fun. Like he kind of insinuated this. He was Kirk's dad in the Star Trek remake, Scrawny. I'll have to see what that looks like. I want to see. I want to see what he looks like, scrawny. What's mad then is you have certain people. I want muscles, but I love food too much. Well, you could bulk it. You could get like a massive angel. It was an inside joke, but they managed to get Kunai Nanjani to look like a completely different dude. Oh, Kanail Nanjani looked like a completely different dude. I don't recognize that. Can't grow. I'm sorry. um, I remember like there's loads of actors who constantly bounce between different roles and they completely change. I mean, like, uh, you see some actors who are ripped for a role and then later, oh wait, actually, I think I do recognize. I don't recognize the name that well, but I think I know who you're talking about. I think he's on like a talk show or something where he talks about like how it was just training, hard work, and they kind of poked fun at how he looked. But I mean, look, that's just the thing about like again, if you're an actor and you're told put on 200 pounds of muscle naturally, yeah. See, that's the thing. That's the thing. That just doesn't happen. Um, if you're if you're an actor and you're given the choice for a big role, you're going to be fucking Thor or the Hulk. Well, the Hulk, you don't need that. It's all CGI. Imagine you had to. They just make you a fucking scientific experiment so that you can play the Hulk. Um, but if you're an actor and you're told you're going to be the next Thor in this massive movie, but you just need to go on steroids, that's an obvious choice. And like the thing is that they're going to be on the best medication, the best levels of stuff, with the best medical like supervision, to the point that it's almost like not in any way dangerous. And they probably have it. It's not just like, oh, it's steroids. It's going to be certain very specific things to do exactly what they want. That's not taking anything away from Chris Hemsworth. It's just chances are, would he have been able to build that body completely naturally? It would have taken a long, long time. Long, long time. I like when he got fat. And then everyone got mad. That was funny. uh, what's a good sea shanty? I remember I was pretty into sea shanties like well before Wellerman got like massive. Not like massively into them, but decently enough. Ooh, Spanish Lady is actually a really good song. I don't know if I would be able to do it. No, there's a lot of good songs. Roll the old chart. Oh, that's a good Spanish. As I came down through Dublin city at the hour of 12 at night, who should I spy but a Spanish lady washing her feet by candlelight? First she washed them, then she dried them over a fire of amber coal. In all me life I ne'er did see a maid so sweet about the soul. Whack for the toora-loora laddie, whack for the toora-loora lay. Whack for the toora-loora laddie, whack for the toora-loora lay. As I came back through Dublin city at the hour of 8:30, who should I spy but the Spanish lady brushing her hair in the broad daylight? First she brushed it, then she tossed it, on her lap was a silver comb. In all me life I ne'er did see a maid so fair since I did roam. Whack for the toora-loora laddie, whack for the toora-loora lay. Whack for the toora-loora laddie, whack for the toora-loora lay. As I returned to Dublin city as the sun began to set, who should I spy but the who should I spy but the Spanish lady catching a moth in the golden net? First she saw me, then she fled me, lifted her petticoats over her knee. In all me life I ne'er did see a maid so fair as a Spanish lady. Whack for the toora-loora laddie, whack for the toora-loora lay. Whack for the toora-loora laddie, whack for the toora-loora lay. I've wandered north and I've wandered south, through Stony Batter and Patrick's Close, up and around by the Gloucester Diamond and back by Napper Tandy's house. Old age has laid her hands on me, cold as a fire of ashy coal. But where is the love of me Spanish lady, a maid so sweet about the soul? Whack for the toora-loora laddie, whack for the toora-loora lay. Whack for the toora-loora laddie, whack for the toora-loora lay. I feel like that was a very shortened version of the one that I'm used to. I feel like there's definitely one or two. Huh. I swore there was another verse in that song. Let me just check something real quick. Lura lura. Whack for the toora-loora laddie, whack for the toora-loora lay. No, there's definitely another verse. Hang on, I'm sorry, I'm having a kind of what do you call it again? If I get rid of Dubliners. When you experience something that's against what you remember. Sorry, I'm looking away from the chat right now. That's it. I found it. I found dementia. Oh no, Rose, I'm getting dementia. Who are you? Wait, who are you again, Kwai? Oh, thanks for joining. Thanks for the first time chat. He's looking away. Time to do crime. No, I'm looking now. What crime are you gonna do? What crime are you gonna do with Kwai? Chaos. Oh no. I found it though. I found it. It's all good. It's like the thing when you remember Berenstein versus Berenstein Bears, or the fruit of the loom. I can't remember what that's called again. I'm just blanking on it. But the other verse is I stopped to look, but the watchman passed. Says he, young fella, now the night is late. Along with you now, or I will wrestle you straightway through the Bridewell gate. I got a look from the Spanish lady, hot as a fire of amber coals. In all me life I ne'er did see a maid so sweet about the soul, so neat about the souls. That's it. I also didn't see there's a specific part where it's like in all me life I ne'er did see a maid so gay as a Spanish lady. Well, maybe they didn't want that one because it has the word gay in it and it might come across as offensive. I think it's being used in the old way. And we'll be alright if the wind was in our sails, and we'd be alright if the wind was in our sails, and we'd be alright if the wind was in our sails, and we'll all hold on behind. White Kawa Quime. Oh, Leave Her, Johnny, Leave Her is such a good one. I'm just kind of like doing stuff now. I'm not even paying attention to you guys. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Tomorrow. I forget how it goes. I haven't listened to shanties in a long while. I'm not going to lie. Hang on, I might pull it up because I don't think you guys will hear it. So I can pretend like I'm doing it a cappella. At least I can just get the... Leave her, Johnny, leave her. And it's time for us to leave her. Oh, that's loud. I don't think you guys should be getting that. Because I don't have... Yeah. Oh god. Oops. I clicked the wrong button. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm gonna end the stream. You guys managed to get an extra like 45 minutes or an hour with me. But the work was hard and the wages low. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. I guess it's time for us to go. I can't do it that low. He's got a deeper voice than me. Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, the voyage is done and the wind don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. The Dishonored 2 soundtrack has some songs that suit your voice, in my opinion. That's good. Ah, I played Dishonored 1 a lot, but I haven't played Dishonored 2. I'll have to check it out. Listen to their OST. But I'll look for someone to raid now. That was an interesting rest of a reading stream. So who will we read? Who is live right about now? I gotta head to sleep before the raid. No worries. Watery Gave, Silver and Dust. Ooh, sounds good. Feel free to send it into like some chat, like Discord or something, so I can keep track of things. Great stream though. Thank you very much, Lancelot, and thank you all for joining. Who are we gonna raid? So there's okay, I'm just gonna check. Okay, maybe not. There was someone I was thinking, but maybe not exactly the most say-so stream to go into. Not this time. Oh, I came across, actually, I just want to say this. I came across an Irish VTuber, another one. But something about their accent was really weird. It felt like a put-on Irish accent. Like really played up. It sounded like they were English doing an Irish accent. But at the same time, like there was times when they actually said stuff where they sounded just like naturally Irish. It was very it was kind of messing with my head a little. It was like that sounds Irish. And then And there's loads of different Irish accents, by the way. It's not like it's only gonna be mine, but it was just like a weird thing. I was like listening for ages, being like, "Is that right? That something doesn't sound right there." I will be the arbiter of uncanny valley accent. I will be the arbiter of any Irish streamer. I'm cementing it right now, right here. We could. Ooh. I think I know who we might raid. We're gonna raid into my friend Diamandus, who's he's playing some Lethal Company. It's a collab, so we get to technically we're raiding like 4 people. Roo raid, Roo raids, a cutesy raid. But he's currently collabing with Rinno, Sin4, and Dojin Patchy. So some cool guys there. So we'll go check them out. Roo raid. Okay, you know what? Fine. We'll do this. This can be our raid message for today. Okay. Let me read. I'm gonna go Dia. Wait, I think I've raided into Dia before. I'm just trying to think, maybe should I raid into one of the other two, because I haven't raided into them before. Or have I raided Dia? I don't think so. We'll raid Dia. We'll go. Okay, yeah, let's go. Oh no, he accepts the nickname. Mm, mm. But thank you all for joining me as always. It's very much appreciated. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading, and Hyde making me struggle to push through with the philosophy by challenging me with some very interesting topics, and then the secret little karaoke stream. Go Rev Mila Mahagut and Slong of Oil. No, seriously, Hyde, I really enjoyed it. It's way better to have interaction, even if it means I get derailed. But I still got the chapter that I wanted done. It would have gotten done a lot faster, but that means I would have been struggling for content later. So thank you very much, Hyde. And that's the type of stuff that I want. I want people to come in and like provide like their knowledge and their experiences and stuff. So it's not nothing to apologize for. Anything feeling like you're derailing it, not at all, not at all. I'm really happy to have someone to engage with the content. So thank you. But and thank you all for joining. And I guess I'm going to be known as Rue from now on, or Rue. Please don't. I like Rua. Gura Mila Malgat Slonga Foil.